2, 3.
Hello! Welcome to Gen Z Meets World podcast. I am Aisha.
I'm Ahmed.
And today we'll be talking about childhood dreams and ambitions.
Yes.
Now, one thing of my personal observation is that when you're younger, you have this dream that you have. You have this idea that you want to be something when you grow up.
That you inspired by something that you
you really admire or something.
Yes.
But it isn't necessarily like an structured ambition. It may not cross upon you, maybe because you're younger, and the world is a lot simpler to you, and it doesn't really occur to you like it's going to be an occupation, like a work.
I mean,
but it's like something you want to be.
That I could actually relate that to what I faced when I was younger. Well, not really face, but the thing that
went on in
my mind when I was younger. So when I was first introduced to the word ambition, I can't remember who was it that asked me.
Probably Kakak Aiman.
Yeah, probably Kakak Aiman. What's my ambition? I'm like, what is an ambition? That's a new word to me, for me. But so the explanation that people gave was, it is something that you want to be when you grow up. So the idea that I have in mind is that once I reach a certain age, I will be going to this machine. I could still remember how the machine looks like in my imagination. It was very Teletubbies inspired,
sci-fi.
that kind of sci-fi, specifically Teletubbies but sci-fi kind of machine. Which when you go in there,
did you imagine the Tabitos machine, or
It was basically like that kind of, I can't remember specifically.
The whole house aesthetic.
Yeah, the whole house aesthetic.
Right.
That kind of, there's those rims and this kind of tube stuff.
Yeah.
So you will get in there, the door will close, and it's a machine that turns you into what you want to be. Whatever you want to be. So I wanted to be a butterfly. Because when I was small, that not just that age, but that moment specifically, I was fan of butterfly, I would say, because I was fascinated by butterflies, because I just learned about butterflies.
How did you learn about butterflies?
So when my sister Anissa, she had a school performance, and she was practicing for the school performance. The school performance was, she sang a song.
Yeah, she presented a presentation on the life cycle of a butterfly, and then she sang.
Yeah, she sang a song about butterflies, a song from Barney actually.
Yeah, Barney and Friends.
So when she sang the song about butterflies, and she spent a long time practicing at home.
Yes.
So I was watching her and taking part of the practice without her wanting me there. but that was when I questioned what is this butterfly thing that people are talking about. So then people told me about butterflies, and I was like, that's actually something that also developed my idea of what an ambition is, because the butterfly's life cycle shifted from a caterpillar to a pupa to a butterfly.
Yes.
So it really changes drastically.
I can
change
into a butterfly
from a human. I mean, human and caterpillars are not too different. Kind of these long things. So we could turn into a butterfly. So
what's holding it back?
Yes, what's holding it back? So and I did not know how big butterflies were, because I just saw my sister's drawings.
You've never seen a butterfly?
No, I've never seen.
Or maybe you've seen a butterfly and you didn't know that's a butterfly. Because you have an idea of what a butterfly would be.
Because the butterfly in my head would be the general butterfly drawing. It would be this
big
oval thing, and then there's this thing over here. Yeah, it's wings, and then there's antennas. So
if you see a butterfly in the wild,
that's not a butterfly.
Yeah.
that's a garden animal.
Wildly different from my first dream, because I remember my first dream was when I was reading the Usborne Children's Encyclopedia. I think that's the title.
There's a picture of a frog at the back.
Yeah, that was my favorite book ever. I I have it with me all the time. Before I could properly read, and until I learned to read, like before I could properly read, I just like look at the pictures and like ask people what this thing's talking about. And then eventually when I can read, like that book opened my mind to so many things.
Yeah.
It was wow. So I remember when I was reading, there was a section about explorers. And when I was reading about explorers, I was so fascinated by the idea of these people, like, you know, discovering new things, going out, doing things people has never done, going to places people has never seen, and, you know, discovering so many things. And I was like, this is it. I am going to be an explorer when I grow up. And I was like so excited and pumped for it, basically. And then like at the end of this 2-page coverage about explorers, it says that but like now the only places left for people to explore, something around the lines of like the only places left for people to explore is like the depths of the ocean and like outer space.
Yeah.
And that was so disappointing because like I just
remember you
discovered
telling me about that.
the thing I want to be, and then I can't because it's all discovered. And so I realized that if I cannot be an explorer, you know, maybe I can be an astronomer, because I think I already know what an astronaut. I already know what an astronaut is then. But shortly after that, still from the same book, I discovered this thing called an archaeology.
Yes.
An archaeologist
Okay.
who studies like archaeology, and like they uncover new places. They uncover like cities
From the
past, and like
yes.
they unlock secrets and mysteries. They discover reasons of existence. You know, they tie in, like
Decipher all pieces of
they
history.
find answers to all the questions we've been thinking.
Yes.
And you know, they placing the missing pieces of the puzzle. And that was wild. And I wanted to be an archaeologist.
Yeah.
Yeah, ever since then.
I remember. I actually did not know about that dream until we met the archaeologist. That
Rupert.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
A
an
nice guy.
Australian archaeologist.
archaeologist. Eventually, when I went to school, and then like the teacher goes, you know, like they write it. I think it was a teacher who wrote it on the whiteboard, and they're like ambition, and then it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then you're like, you know, what is an ambition? And then they talk about the concept of an ambition. And I think like the definition that the teacher gave was something along the lines of like an occupation you want to, you know, be, you want to
Pursue.
work as. They definitely did not use the word pursue.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that I did not think to answer archaeologist. So when they asked me what my ambition is, I had no clue what my ambition is, you know, because I didn't think of it that way. But then eventually I was having a conversation with our eldest sister, Kaiman.
Yes.
And I can't remember what the conversation was about, but she mentioned author in the conversation. And then I was like, what's an author? And then she said like a person who writes books. And that was so fascinating because I, like all our lives, you know, we've always been growing up with books, but it didn't come across my mind that there would be this person who writes a book.
Yes. I
Like-
mean, even though we write our
Yeah,
stories.
we wrote stories by then,
yeah,
but
but-
it didn't come across your mind that this book has an person who wrote it.
and the person who writes it works to write books
To just
and
write
just
book,
and write.
that's
yeah,
just
yeah.
the job. And I was like books are great things. They open you to so many new concepts. They open your eyes to so many new worlds.
Yes.
They just make you see so many things and feel emotions, and you become someone else sometimes when you're reading a book. And I wanted to be that person who does that. And you know, like you can make a person understand something so deeply just through writing. You can move them, you know,
Yes.
somewhere. And that was so interesting. And that was like, I think that was my
That
ambition
actually
thing.
reminds me of like my second ambition. It's more realistic compared to a butterfly.
Yeah.
Which was
Anything will be more realistic than a butterfly. Except if you want to be another
dragon.
animal or a cat or a train, you know.
Yeah. So when I grew older, it was, I think, 4 or 5, about that time. So I started to watch people giving speeches in on the TV, on the news. So there's like, people giving speeches at conferences and conventions, international conventions, like at the United Nations, for example. So that was when I was...
You watched United Nations at that age?
There was a picture of our Prime Minister, a
Oh,
video
yeah,
of
yeah,
our
yeah,
Prime
yeah,
Minister
yeah,
at
yeah,
the
yeah,
United
okay,
Nations.
okay.
So back then, when I saw that, the thing that struck me the most was that these people are like influential, very influential people, and speaking to people and influencing people, and people like moved by their leadership and such. So that's
And
when
they're doing it to like pursue
for a cause.
Yeah, like make a better future.
Yes,
and all
they
that.
want to bring an idea to move the society into this ideal shape.
Yeah.
So when I saw that really moved me as well.
Yeah.
What caused me to, So that's when I wanted to be someone influential, a leader, that kind of person. And I remember another thing that inspired me towards that direction was when I saw my sisters giving a public presentation, and then international fair.
It was an international. It was the International Islamic Fair
of 2006 in Kuala Lumpur
at PWTC. Yeah.
So that was what I wanted to do.
I was 8.
Yes.
And I gave a speech in front of thousands.
I was 3.
Yeah. You would be
in my stroller. So that was like my first, I would say, ambition, comparing back to the dream ambition terminology. So that's my first ambition.
And I think that's interesting because I remember that then you wanted to be this person, but you didn't really have an idea of what is it that you want to do.
Yes.
But then eventually, when Michael Jackson passed away, and then we were listening to, because Michael Jackson just came up on all the radios, and also our father was like, oh, Michael Jackson is the singer, and then he switched on some like Michael Jackson songs, and particularly he introduced us to the song Heal the World, Earth Song, and We Are the World.
Yes.
And you were so moved by the lyrics and the idea, and you really wanted, you thought like, why aren't we doing this, like thing?
Yes.
And you really wanted to make that change for like a better future.
Like not one thing is like in the sense of like climate change and such, but there's also like humanity in general, like wars and such. So yes, that's actually true. That's because before that I was like,
you just want to become that person who talks with the mic.
Yes, I want to like bring this thing. I have no clue what the thing I'm going to bring is, but there's something I'm going to bring. This cause
that will be there,
principle, whatever that is. So but that was when I properly had a cause to fight for, that I really felt deep within me strongly. So I remember specifically those 3 songs
really moved me.
So after that, that is actually the interesting thing, because it's those things that our ambitions and dreams, they're actually what shapes our
which to mention, also like from watching news, my second ambition, which was like my author ambition, was kind of short-lived, because shortly after that I started like watching a lot of news and reading a lot of newspapers. There was this like sort of like a tradition, a ritual thing, which every morning we would get like this free newspaper, and I would read the newspaper on the way to school. I would read like the front page, and then going forward, and just read out the news in the car, and a lot of those news, like after the headlines, they would talk about a lot of the crime related news.
Crime related news.
Yeah. So, and there was like you have all of these police who's there, and they're like doing so much to help us, like create a safer place. They are sacrificing their safety and their time, and to like just to make the space better for everyone.
And more comfortable.
Yeah,
Like
and
even to that point.
yeah, and they're like fighting for like justice, and like implementing all the law. And I was so blown by like, no, I was inspired by that, and I decided that I wanted to be a police.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just, that was, and because of that dream, I started to, because I thought, okay, so I want to be a police when I grow up. I have to start, building myself to become a police from now. So I would like jot down all of the like the law, and the, if you do this much of crime, such crime, you would be
The provisions.
yes, you would face these charges, and how do some of these people, I would like cut out some of these news, and like jot down, why does this person escape from like the court, how is it done this way, or sometimes
the
I
whole
would,
process.
yes, or if there's like a big case, I would like cut out the news, and like, okay, so what might have happened here, what might have gone wrong,
Yeah.
and that was definitely something that I built up from when I was younger. And all of that knowledge definitely, trains and builds me until today. And I think, yes, like what you were mentioning, that is very interesting, because as how when I really want to be a police, I studied all of these things like fervently.
Yes.
You did too, with like, climate change and humanity. And because of that, we learned so much, and we build the most important thing. It builds our character.
Yes.
And it builds our principle. Which is like, it sheds light into how important it is to have a clear-ish ambition and goal,
but not to the point that we're constricted to that image view
because
only.
it might not fit us in the end. But to have that clear idea, because it would build who you are, and to also make sure that, I mean, you as a person perhaps couldn't make sure of it, but definitely if you see your younger siblings, or if you're old enough that you're a parent, you would see your children, like
or
having
a teacher.
Or a teacher, or even a friend, and you could tell, you would want to guide them to have like
something that brings good,
yes,
rather than if someone is inspired to be a thief,
then you want to stop because you don't want that to exacerbate. So that's interesting. And that also reminds me of how eventually when I was interested with lots of things, but another thing that I was really fascinated by was, it wasn't like a very clear ambition, but I was definitely inspired by, I think that was like 2007. It started around 2006 when we had that first Malaysian in space, Sheikh Muzaffar.
Yeah.
So
2007, I think.
2007 was like the space launch,
Oh,
but the news
right.
Yeah, it started, I think, 2006 when I started reading about it, or maybe it was 2005 in fact. So I had always been interested in astronomy, like since I was younger, and I have always been interested with like stars and like the space objects. But when like it's like a person from your own country who's like going to space, it feels a lot more relatable and closer. And it really inspired me to become, I didn't want to be an astronaut. Even though I wanted to discover new places, I didn't want to be an astronaut because I didn't want to die in a spaceship. But I wanted to be in astronomy. I wanted to discover, new things from like all these studies. I wanted to study astrophysics. I wanted to, and because of that, I read a lot of books on astronomy. And I studied so much. I had a whole scrapbook of like the characteristics of like different stars and other space objects, like those scales of like how big the sun is.
Yeah,
And
I remember that.
Yeah. So I would collect all these things from like newspapers. I had a whole file of the story of how Sheikh Muzaffar, from like he was in training and then he eventually goes to space and then he comes back to Earth and all that. It was definitely a very interesting moment for me.
I missed out a lot on that. And
you were small.
Yes, exactly. Like I kind of feel like
it was
because I will be feeling the same. First of all, because I also have like an interest in astronomy.
Yeah.
And also that whole thing. I mean, I really missed out the whole thing.
And it really helps that our father is very into science.
Yes.
And he's very good in explaining
how things work.
Yeah, complex concepts. And so he would like if there is a lunar eclipse, he would inform us that there's a lunar eclipse and become all excited, and we'd go and observe it, and B, make a very clear explanation and demonstration of how an eclipse happened. Like he would have a torchlight which one of us will hold and become the sun, and then one of us will hold a ball and become Earth, and the other person will hold the moon and become the moon.
It's not a ball for the Earth. We use a globe so that we can see properly.
And it's like an Earth.
Yeah, it's an Earth.
And so like that also helped a lot, because then when I started to go
before for each of us, it was before our age where we went to school, so it was very early as well.
Yes. And it was when I became interested in astronomy, like became very interested in it because of that space expedition. He would like also introduce me to new things I didn't know. He would like give me articles on like space and all that, and that definitely helps. And I think like baseline, all of these dreams makes you a better person. Like it builds you.
Yes.
Builds you up. It builds your knowledge. It builds your character. Builds your principle. It trains you to become someone. And I think that is
the thing that's important, and also something that we should encourage within people of a younger
society.
age.
Yeah, definitely. To become inspired, to become a better person, and B, to become inspired to become something that can make you a better person and make the society a better place. Something that could benefit, because one is definitely for you to become yourself better, but two is also
turn the environment better.
Yeah, to make everyone.
Because technically, if you just want yourself to be better, you could do a lot of things that disregard everyone else, and you will.
You can't.
Yeah.
Because that's how society works.
In order for you to become better, you will need other people to become better to help you become better.
You have to become collective.
Yes.
That's just the concept.
Yes.
Do you have any other ambitions after?
I mean, there was like. I think that was around the time. It was around the time the Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield.
Okay.
Went to space. That was when he popularized live streaming from space, and doing like live Q&As from space to Earth from the International Space Station. So that was when I got...
Sheikh Muzaffar went to the International Space Station.
Basically everyone who went to space went there. Except for the new Chinese space station. So that will be in the... but yeah, so when that happened, that was when I started to delve into the space industry, basically, I would say. My astronomy, yes. So... For quite a while, in fact even till now, I have like that very strong interest in space exploration and also space engineering.
Specifically more space engineering.
Specifically more engineering, yes. So when I started to see that was also like an interest, but that's an example of like currently
I would be interested in what is a black hole, what makes a black hole, and you might be more interested in like how can you do something with a black hole or something,
and like
how do you interact with a black hole?
Yes, or like that kind of thing. How do you see a black hole up close, sir? Something towards that. So this is actually probably an example of my dream. Back to the terminology of dream versus ambition. My dream in this present day, when I'm already grown up, so compared to like a butterfly, something that's more realistic in that sense, but still not something that I see myself pursuing in the future. But that would definitely be nice if I could actually choose myself.
Even like
by
astronomy,
getting into the machine.
I was very interested in it. I wanted to become an astronomer, but I feel like in the end, I have always thought that it is more realistic for me to become a police or a historian, because I was also interested in history because of the archaeology. Because I was like, if I want to become an archaeologist, I have to study archaeology. To study archaeology, I have to study history. So I was into history. So it felt more realistic because of two reasons. One is that it is harder for you to like attain that ambition, it felt like. But definitely the biggest thing for me was that I felt that being a police or a historian would impact the society so much more, and I've always wanted to like make the space better, like, and the whole environment, the whole civilization a better place, because I grew up seeing so many flaws in society, especially when I was at school, and there were things that were happening which were one of the reasons why I wanted to be homeschooled. Things like like from disrespect, from just casual disrespect to bullying, So it had always been something that I really wanted to sort of like solve, so that the younger generation do not have to face it, so that it can just make people nicer, because you see people being affected by this in two ways. One is that it breaks them down. Another is that it makes them better, but another is that it makes them worse. Like it makes them the bully. It makes them perpetuate the problem, and that felt so wrong. And so I think that definitely I was like, I really want to be that thing, that astronomer, and I really want to study that. But maybe I can do that, casually. And even though I can't become a professional astronomer, I can become something that could help others, like become, And history, for me, eventually I realized that, in the sense of history, I realized that, like, history is a history of a civilization. Your history, your memory creates who you are.
You are.
So the civilization's history,
the memory, the civilizations comparing, to us.
Human
what shapes
memory,
us is like our memory, our past, what we've learned. So that is
what we remember.
What we remember of we learn. So that is what shapes a civilization. What the civilization remembers of the past,
of ourselves.
Because we don't remember. We don't know what happened so early on.
So,
but if the thing that happened to as far as we know is what we believe we are, and so that shapes us.
If the history is written wrong, then you would have a different idea of who you are, like you may, like, for example, let's take the simplest one, which is like about like the story of our independence. That story is like a bit twisted, which is long. Perhaps we talk about it in another episode. But basically,
go on the long rant about that.
But basically, when it's like okay, let's just go in it a bit to make it simpler. So when like usually in history books you would, or like when people talk about it,
general knowledge,
people usually say that we were colonized
by the British.
And then eventually we gained independence. We as a whole, Tanah Melayu, gained independence.
One country called Malaya was colonized and then
gained independence, which is not true. Our rulers had always had sovereign rule. We had always been independent. However, we had like an advisor who kind of dictated a lot of what we
Yeah,
need to
but
do.
they were still the people, the rulers, the kings were still in power,
Yeah.
and they could actually kick the
Yeah.
advisors out
Yeah.
whenever they want
It's just
to.
that they had to do it diplomatically because British was
to
like
avoid being colonized. That's
yes,
actually the
yes.
story.
Yeah.
So and in fact, the country Malaya did not exist at
Yeah.
all before that. So
Yeah.
you know, it's you can't say it's colonized when it never
didn't
existed. It
exist.
didn't exist. You know.
So definitely, when you have like these different ideas, it gives you a different perspective of who you are. You know, it makes you, for me personally, in between you had always been colonized and then you gain independence, to you had always been independent despite other
Yes.
places being colonized. It makes you prouder of who you are, and it makes you understand how much they have sacrificed, and
Yeah.
so like I thought that it is very important as a society, as a person living in a society, to help the society to do that rather than become an astronomer.
Yes.
Though in some ways an astronomer can also
because
do a lot.
Each and every occupation, except for
Yeah.
probably being a robber,
Yeah.
will help the society.
It just felt more realistic for me,
Yes.
like then.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your ambition now?
Well, I plan to pursue into the legal field,
Mm-hmm.
so to become a lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
and around that area. Being a leader and like that first ambition of
Yeah.
mine is still currently also a part of my
dream.
part of my dream, and it is also like it is something that's realistic enough if I want to make it into an ambition.
Yeah.
But
It's
it's
not
still
like it's not the thing that you.
it's not the thing that I'm going for. Like I could at any time go there, but
Yeah.
I'll be going this way first, because
Yeah.
the second thing about dream is that sometimes when you're going on a straight line, you've already gone so far. That dream is actually somewhere you have to go back
Yeah.
take many steps back.
Yeah, that's a
So
bit
that's
confusing,
a
but
bit-
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so that's where I've already tuned myself to. So
Mhm.
that's something that makes more sense for me to
Mhm.
pursue.
How would you relate it to what you've learned, like your current ambition? How would you relate it to your previous ambition, and like what you've learned from your previous ambition, from having that ambition?
I think going back to the whole thing about Michael Jackson and the whole cause for climate
Better.
change, better world.
Mine is butterfly.
Yeah. So that whole idea, or when I want to make that change, when I want to bring a cause, back to the whole, when I saw the person giving a speech,
Yeah.
bringing whatever cause they were bringing,
Mm-hmm.
I want to do that. And so when I had the cause, I want to bring it, but I can't really change things by just saying, hey.
You
That's-
thought you could.
I used to think that I could, but I learned that I couldn't just change things by saying, hey, we need to change this and that, and everyone follow, and like, hey, the
Yeah.
world's good now.
Yeah. It doesn't work.
It doesn't
that
work
way.
that way, apparently. So I learned that one of the things that's an obstacle is that not many people know the way. I mean, going back to law, the law is already crafted to be, it's already crafted well. However, the people who know the law, or like the people who set the things to be made according to the law, it's not making it, it's not putting it in the right way. If I'm putting it correctly, like, it's quite hard to explain. But simply put, what I understand from it is that I need to, by learning law,
Okay.
by having an understanding.
I think in some ways it had already been implemented correctly.
Yes.
However, there might be like gaps. Like, I think the biggest thing that you're seeing is that, like, the law is already like kind of fine.
Near
Yeah.
perfect.
No, I won't say near perfect,
not
but
near
like
perfect,
like it's
already
fine.
fine. It's
Yeah.
fine.
But
this is fine.
there is problem in making other people who does not learn the law understand the law, and understand the importance, and understand why, even though it may seem redundant, it is important that you understand it and that you follow it. I think that's what you mean.
Yes, that's more to what I was going for. It's hard to put things in words
sometimes.
So by learning law, I could help back even better than what I could do especially by just saying, hey, let's do this.
I think my ambition now, I'll be honest, I do not have a clear exact job I want to do, but I definitely know that there are a few things that I want to do, and I know that realistically, the most realistic course for me to pursue is for me to first like to choose a degree, because that's like the first step to like an occupation, is to learn law. And then going forward from that, I would most probably, I kind of still want to be a police, but I also kind of no longer want to be a police, and it doesn't feel realistic anymore, because by the time I graduate,
I used to want to become not among the things that I want to become a programmer, but I know it's a bit far.
Because by the time I graduate, I do not know if I would have enough time to apply to become police, because they have an age limit. So I think realistically, I would most probably want to forget about that dream and pursue something else. So there's I want to become an historian, and then there's B, I just want to find the right avenue to do the things I want to do. So in some ways, I don't have a clear ambition, like a clear occupation that I want to become. But I have an ambition. I have a dream, and I know realistically what I need to, where I need to go now, what I need to aim for,
the path to be taken.
Like where, So I think that even if you don't have a clear occupation, because sometimes it's hard for you to imagine like a clear occupation, you can just like at least that you have an ambition or a dream that I think is enough to keep you going too. But definitely you should have something to aid you, that you aim towards, a certain goal in life. That's like baseline thing that would.
It's how everyone grows up. And it's how everyone it's how everyone should as well.
How would you say like all of those like things that we learn when we're younger affect? I think it definitely affects a lot. Like, because of all those ambitions, definitely I learned a lot of new things, and then B, it definitely built me as a person. It made me become more empathic. It made me more concerned about certain things. And it shapes who you are. So baseline, basically, I think having an ambition is a kind of a very important thing for you to have as a child, and it is also very important that you have the right ideas, or like the right
principles set in mind.
So
I think that's
it. I think that's it. That was a very interesting conversation. And
it will be interesting to hear your thoughts as well,
because
about this, like, that's how we see it, but that's not how the entire world sees it.
And it would be interesting to see how other people see it.
From people from different environments.
And even if you agree with it, maybe there's something that we missed.
You could add in to the conversation, to the thoughts, to the ideas.
If you like the conversation too, you can like the video and follow us, so that we could you could like join into all of our other conversations too. And we hope to see you next time.
That will be in 2 weeks.
We post every other week.
We post every other week.
Either Saturday or Sunday. We would try to post on Saturday, but if we can't post on Sunday, so we would post every other week. That's
So that's
that's it. That's bye.
Goodbye.